In case there's anyone who hasn't already heard the news, it's with a very, very heavy heart that Akira Toriyama, the creator of many amazing series, Dragon Quest, Dr. Slump, Sandland, and of course he was the art designer for Chrono Trigger as well. But of course, the series that his name is most synonymous with, of course, being Dragon Ball. Now, I don't even know where to begin. Just when it comes to praising the work that man has done, when it comes to just where I am today, not just in terms of YouTube and just the work I've done, but just as a person. The news was announced last night, the 7th, at least for us here in America, that's what it was. But I know that Toriyama had passed already on the 1st of this month, but news had not reached us here in the West until much later. I'm sure that was by the request of probably his family, and just because when the news had finally reached me, it was last night. I was getting ready for bed. I'm in a group chat with a lot of my good friends on Instagram, and someone had sent a post. There's been like many, I guess, memes or whatever, like stuff like this where it's kind of like baiting in a way. Like I saw one recently with Toriyama where it was kind of stylized like that, where it's like Akira Toriyama has been nominated for an award or whatever, with that classic like black and white picture of him smiling. Like I just kept reading, I kept waiting for the thing. It's like, oh, this is like something where as soon as I saw the 1955 to 2024, that's when it started to sink in. And then I just kept reading the things, just like Akira Toriyama has passed away. He was only 68 as well. Apparently he had a blood clot in his brain. I don't know where that could have developed from, and I'm not gonna delve into like theories or whatever, but when the news reached me last night, it was hard to go to sleep like after that. I mean, right before I went to sleep, Dion Syriax, who is a longtime Dragon Ball YouTube creator and streamer, one of the YouTubers who has inspired me the most over the years, just through like, you know, with Dragon Ball content, Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. But he posted a video of when he received the news, because he was live streaming at the time. Like a lot of what I'm probably gonna say is kind of gonna maybe be a reiteration of what he said, because I'm really trying right now not to like break down. I thought like when I was watching, you know, Dion's video and just going through on different communities across like Instagram, Twitter, everything, just putting out messages and whatnot, I broke down a little bit, because I'll be honest, when it comes to, you know, celebrity deaths or just people who have made things where it's like you'll probably never ever meet them in your life, I'm definitely one of those people that, you know, it doesn't linger with me for too long. It's like I'm sad obviously, but there's another anime I was watching recently where there's a character who said a line which is kind of interesting looking at it now. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but she said something along the lines of just like, you know, when it comes to people dying where there's someone I don't really know or never even really heard of, like I don't really feel anything, or like it's hard for me to feel, I guess, empathetic towards them. And at the time when I heard that line, I was like, I'm kind of like that too, but you know, it's different. I'll take this time to sort of just tell the story of what Dragon Ball has meant to me. I mean, it's a story I've told many times, but it's sort of just my tribute to Toriyama. Just the legacy, how he inspired several generations of people through his work. I guess I'll tell the story, because I've never really told the story in like full detail, but me and my brother are 11 years apart. He's 11 years older than me, so he grew up in like the 90s watching stuff on Toonami when it was like properly on the air. So, you know, he watched stuff like Dragon Ball, Gundam Wing, Sailor Moon, like all that stuff, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. And then eventually when, you know, I came into the picture, it's always been kind of a joke in my family that a lot of my taste and stuff was because my brother, you know, quote unquote, forced me to watch a lot of the stuff that he enjoyed. Of course, like that's just kind of how I remember it, but you know, it wasn't like that. Like it's not like he physically forced me to watch it. I always ended up like kind of just following my brother around, and just like, you know, whenever he would be gaming or whatever, I would just sit there and watch him. It sucks because I don't really remember like the exact memory, but I know that I was probably around like 5, 6 years old when he sat me down and was just like, watch this with me. And then he put on, Dragon Ball. We had the old orange bricks of Dragon Ball all on DVD. I remember just little bits and pieces of watching Dragon Ball, like, because I'm pretty sure, like, he showed me the first, like, bit of it, of, like, the Saiyan Saga and the Namek Saga, and then at some point I think I went off and started watching it on my own. There's one vivid memory I have where we're in the middle of the Namek Saga. Vegeta was about to fight Recoome. My brother, paused it like right as it was getting started, and he was like, I need to go to the bathroom. Do not press play. Of course, you tell a child to not do something, they're probably gonna do it. I went and pressed play for like a couple seconds. It was like right as Vegeta threw that like first punch to hit Recoome, and then my brother just like screams from the bathroom, just like, I told you not to press play. And I was like, I'm sorry. I have like little memories because how our house is laid out. Like this room I'm in right now used to be my brother's room before he moved out. And I used to live in the room on the other side of this wall. And in the corner I had like a box TV. I remember like always putting Dragon Ball in there, and I only remember like bits and pieces of it, taking the orange bricks and putting it in. Little bits of like the Cell Saga, obviously some of like the horror stuff with like Cell, like absorbing the rich guy. And I still have a pretty strong memory of watching Gohan's beam struggle with Cell at the very end, just like remembering the music as he just like blasts him. And then also like bits and pieces of the Buu Saga, Super Saiyan 3, Majin Vegeta's explosion. It's a weird story with Dragon Ball for me because the orange bricks that we had, we only were missing one more. And I remember every time we would go to Best Buy or something, I would see it and I would tell my brother just like, hey, we don't have these. We need the full collection. Like, because I still hadn't, like, the cutoff for where I inadvertently stopped watching Dragon Ball was, I believe it was when Evil Buu ate Good Buu and became Super Buu. Like that's kind of like where my memory stops. For the longest time, I never saw the end of the Buu Saga. Of course, like over the years, like I knew that it ended with like, Goku doing a spirit bomb and whatever. But like stuff with Vegito, Buhan and all that, it's like I never got to see that until, years later because there was a long gap from when I was like a kid, like end of middle school and then like my freshman year of high school, where I was like, I keep hearing like this talk and whatnot about like Dragon Ball Super, and I keep getting clips and whatnot. Like I thought Dragon Ball was over because I never went and saw Battle of Gods in theaters, unfortunately. I did see Resurrection F, which was weird, like kind of looking back on it, because I knew the gist of like what happened in Battle of Gods, but then going into like Resurrection F, it was like I feel like I missed a lot. But that's why like I still have a shirt that I got from that premiere. But then Super started coming out and I was like, I want to jump on it. But so I kind of like went back into Z. I didn't go like all the way through. I think I went to like, the Cell Saga-ish and then went through and then finally saw like the end of the Buu Saga, like in full context. And I was like, okay. Because I watched like the Battle of Gods movie in Resurrection F and I was like, okay, yeah, I got it. But then I didn't know that like the first 2 arcs of Super were, just the movies again. And I also didn't know, because I spent like a long time when I got to Super, I was like, all right, where's the English dub? Where's the English dub? Because I mean, again, that's how I grew up with Dragon Ball and that's how I like it. But, I just couldn't find it. And there is no English dub yet. And I was like, all right. So that was like the first time like I ever really, experienced watching an English subbed show. And at the time, Super was like in the Goku Black arc. And that's when I finally I caught up to that point. And I was with Super pretty much all the way to the end when it was coming out week to week. And just no matter what, it's a series, it'll stick with me for life. One of the saddest things with all this is that he'll never get to see the end of his series. The end of Dragon Ball. I mean that's been like one of the things in Dragon Ball, like a couple of times it's been said, it's just like, this is the story that'll never end. Makes you wonder like what all he maybe was cooking up, because I swear like it was only like a couple days ago where an interview came out from Toriyama where it's like he was talking about how like for Beast Gohan, like he's planning how he's gonna take his form even further. I mean, his work and legacy will live on and be carried on with many other people. It's so interesting though. He's a man who created and done so much, but he lived such a private life. Like, he didn't do too many interviews really. He never went to any like events or anything. I just hope that he knew at the end that what he did for not just the anime and manga community, for the fucking world, like it or not, Dragon Ball is probably the most influential piece of media to come out. I won't say ever, but in terms of anime, manga, it created a wave. No matter where you go, especially with like merch and stuff, if you go to like any store, if there's any piece of like anime merch, chances are it's gonna be Dragon Ball related stuff. I mean, hell, like look at me, man. Like, I mean, it's part of my life, you know, especially like here on the channel. I've dedicated like so many videos to Dragon Ball stuff, and even again, if it wasn't for my brother showing me Dragon Ball, and if it wasn't for Akira Toriyama creating Dragon Ball, my journey through anime to where I am today, getting to experience so many amazing stories and characters, my love for the genre, it started there with Dragon Ball. I made a tweet about it when I learned, but to the man who created the series that through every up and down in my life still brought me endless amounts of profound just joy and excitement, that no matter what new episode, new movie, I'd be there for it as early as I could. And it's thanks to what he made. It always made me want to better myself, not accept your limits, and just try. And if it weren't for this man putting his pen to paper, it's hard to know where like the world would be today if Akira Toriyama decided to be anything other than a mangaka. I'm not making this video for views or anything. I'm not monetized anyway, but if I have the ability, I'll make sure that this video doesn't get monetized. And in terms of like the tags, all I'm gonna put is just Dragon Ball and Akira Toriyama. I'm not gonna like do anything else. I'm just doing it to just tell a story, pay tribute to the man who gave me a series that set me on a life path. It's hard to know if I ever would have watched anime if Dragon Ball didn't exist. It's nearly impossible to imagine a world without it. Of course, you know, my sympathies and prayers go to his family. You know, as much as we're mourning his loss, it's even harder, obviously, for those who actually knew him for the actual person he was. We knew him, obviously, for the work he did, and obviously the little bit we did hear about him from, like, you know, interviews and everything, you know. He's someone where you can tell this is the man who made Goku. Like, I'm sure if there was any last, like, parting thing he could have given, if, like, you know, he knew that it was the end, I'm sure he would have said something Goku like, you know, just don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. It's tough being young, you know, and when you're born and you have like these heroes and whatnot, and these idols, you'll live to see these idols rise, hit their peak, and then eventually they'll die. And this is definitely probably the first like death like this that has actually like affected me. You know, again, it's the series that changed everything for me, and I wouldn't be on this channel making these videos if it wasn't for him. Us Dragon Ball fans, if there's one thing that's consistent, is for a series that's so synonymous with fighting, we definitely do a lot of that amongst our community. But if there's one thing we can do, it's all just be united in this moment, to mourn and, more importantly, to celebrate the legacy this man left behind, and just be here for each other. Feel free to leave down in the comments below either your history with Dragon Ball or any of the other works that Akira Toriyama has had. What was your history with, you know, the stuff he made? Like many of us, we grew up with it. Of course, for like me here in America, I obviously wasn't alive during the era when it first came over, you know, like the original like English broadcast and all that, but I still, you know, experienced it. You know, I grew up when Kai was on TV, and of course also my brother showing me Dragon Ball, you know, as he watched it. And still to this day, every time there's a new movie, new show, new manga chapter, I'm always immediately on it. It's the series that no matter what will always mean everything to me. You know, there's no sense in dragging this on forever, you know. I'm sure he wouldn't want people to be mourning him forever. Death, though it's sad, it should be a celebration as well. It's sad because the person is no longer with us, but you get to celebrate who the person was, what they did, what they accomplished, the memories you have with them. You know, the good quote from WandaVision, what is grief if not love persevering? For some reason, like the scene I'm thinking about most is the end of Dragon Ball GT. You know, Goku, you know, goes up into the sky and just like, see you later. I just know that wherever he ends up, whatever is next for human life after death, I'm sure he'll be watching us. Is the series he created, the people in charge of it now, I'm sure that they'll do their best to ensure that it's something that he can be proud of. Either way, for everyone out there, cherish your loved ones, enjoy the lives you have, because I mean, we all have our day where it's gonna happen. But so the only thing we can do is just continue to enjoy everything to the fullest. Work hard, eat, and sleep plenty. And enjoy it to the fullest. Akira Toriyama, thank you for everything.